Hooray!
We've come to the end of our time. Oh no, wait, that's a different game.
It's the final countdown. Wait, no, chapter.
It's the final countdown, but played on kazoos.
I'd listen to that. So here we are at the top of Ganon's tower.
Yeah. This, I'd like to say that I've enjoyed this, but I'd be lying.
We've more enjoyed the latter half of these videos.
I think we've more enjoyed the recording than the gameplay.
Yeah. Which I guess I want to say, like, for the people that were, excited when they saw I was doing a Shadows of the Damned LP, I'm sorry? Not in your taste of games, no, not that. It was more sorry for you expecting this to be more positive than it actually was.
Yeah, joke's on you. This has really been like a 15-hour shitpost in video form.
Oh, yeah.
What are you having?
But in fairness, so is the game, so we've just treated it with the exact same amount of respect as it deserved.
Who are you having?
Oh, yeah.
It's your precious Paula, of course.
Gee, who could have guessed?
Is it cannibalism if he's a demon?
No.
Well, you've talked me into it. Wait, where did her leg go?
I don't know,
He was literally holding it, and then it went missing.
Paula? Oh God, what have I done? Oh, no.
You stupid idiot.
Again. How could you?
If only this type of dilemma had any real, impact
Fuck you!
throughout this
Consequences.
entire fucking game.
Yeah, any other game, it would be like a really dark mindfuck, but with this, it's like a running gag.
Yeah. We've already seen her die half a dozen times in various other ways.
In the Lord of Demons' bed. No! She will not be returning to you. Paula, you hold on for me, baby. I'm getting you out.
Garcia.
This meal is over.
Look out, Gene!
And of course, he's armed with a big pole.
Yeah. So this is Flemming. And it's quite possibly the best boss fight of the game, I would say. It's the
Damning
one
with
where...
faint praise yet again.
Well, I say it because I think this is the one fight where it actually remembers that you have all these different weapons with different firing modes and such, and actually tries to make you use them all for the duration of this fight. And also, the important gimmick with this one is that Flemming will open up his coat to reveal Paula. You can actually shoot Paula, and it will result in a game over.
Thankfully, he has a good amount of foreshadowing. Don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah, the cutscene obviously showed it, but even in the fight itself, the animation of him opening up his coat is very obvious.
Yeah. So it's not like split second, ha, you fool.
Yeah. Though considering how Flemming can keep reviving Paula over and over, it feels kind of pointless for that to result in a game over.
Yeah, causing you damage maybe, but
yeah, but that would require this game to ever retain anything interesting beyond it just being an RE4 knockoff.
With additional dick jokes.
Yeah.
And of course, the ever popular shockwaves that seem to be in pretty much every shooter game at this point.
I at least give them props for allowing you a way to get around it by the fact that your dodge roll does make you technically leave the ground. Like, it's a good way of getting around the fact that there's no jump button. But yeah, here's something that obviously requires the use of our, like, Skull Blaster.
Yeah, because the game remembers that you have additional weapons.
Yeah. I mean, it already has made us...
Very slowly rotating, so you can't just stay in one place.
Yeah. If only my perception of the firing arc of the fucking thing wasn't so bad.
Strap in, kids. This may take some time.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I mean when I say, like, this actually does, like... I say it remembers that you have all these different weapons. Like, obviously the Skull Blaster with, like, its, like, particular firing mode is, like, super recent. But it still remembers that, you know, we've got, like, the alternate light shot with our pistol, which gets a lot of use. And even the Dentist with its lock-on helps, you know, mitigate, like, some of the problems that would come with trying to track, you know, with, like, certain things. Although I don't always wait for the reticule to turn red for the lock-on sometimes, but it still works as, like, a good rapid-fire weapon.
I mean, at the very least, it's good for the big demons with the Tesla coils in their back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it is kind of disappointing when the final boss fight puts more effort into it than about 90% of the game thus far.
Yeah, it's like... I mean, I would not be surprised ultimately if, like, there still was, like, some intent from whatever was left of the designers to have Flemming be a very involved boss, especially compared to all the others we faced. But I guess that especially makes sense considering he has barely shown himself at all ever since the prologue.
Yeah, he's had like 3 appearances in person, and this is his 3rd. Like, why are we supposed to be scared of this guy? Every time he's been mentioned, it's like, oh, Flemming is a serious badass, and we've yet to see anything that backs that up.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's the stuff from, like, the opening, his giant shadowy hand, like, doing shit to fuck with us. Yeah. And then, of course, when we got to the castle...
with the Unbreakable Huntress.
Yeah.
And again, that's telling us, not actually showing us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it... Yeah, it's specifically just a story being retold by Johnson, of all things.
Yeah, it's hardly watching Sauron striding across the battlefield, is it?
True.
I mean, up until I watched this, all I could remember is that it's, you know, the boss fight has like 3 or 4 different phases to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not really seeing much to, you know, really talk about other than that.
Yeah, well, it's...
Which is a shame, because the start of the game was pretty strong. And I've always thought that, you know, you show your best stuff at the beginning and the end, because that's the only bits that people are going to remember.
Yeah.
But, you know, they kind of forgot the second part of that, and it's like, what else are we doing for the end? Bloke falls apart, does a spinny thing, and you shoot him. Shockwaves, like every other game from this era. Yeah, fuck it, let's go with that.
Even the darkness gimmicks in this fight, I don't mind. Like, between, like, the swinging goat lamp and also the one where, like, he, like, pulls you into himself and you have to kind of escape by shooting open the right portal.
I think it's probably because, unlike, well, pretty much every other time they've shown up, they don't outstay their welcome. It's short, but, you know, that's all it really needs to be.
Yeah, and we only ever ended up actually going inside Flemming's body and having to do that little, like, puzzle once.
And even then, at least, you know, they give you enough dropped so that you don't need to take damage. Again,
This-
unlike
yeah.
most of the other bits.
This part, I had no idea what the fuck I was thinking. I thought I was like, oh, maybe I should just, like, run into it. But no, it's just... This is, like... If you remember, like, from Rondo of Blood, where it was, like, those final desperation suicide attacks.
Yeah.
Except this really has no fucking effect or whatever, at all.
Yeah, it's just tossing random body parts at you, like, what the fuck are you meant to do? Shoot them? Dodge them?
Run head first to save Paula?
Yeah.
I mean, that was actually, I think, kind of my first thought, but whatever. She's here. We beat Flemming. We got the girl back.
And spoilers for those who haven't worked it out, she was totally the Unbreakable Huntress. I don't think we actually covered that.
Oh, but yeah, she's that and a lot more.
But
Surprise! He thought this was the end, bitches! Yeah, I knew you'd like that. I knew you'd like that.
Oh, fuck. Okay, you got me.
Now you know why this is not the final episode.
That's it. The entire LP is officially worth it.
Yeah. We said this the whole LP was like a 15-hour shitpost. It was all leading up to this bullshit right here.
Skull up. What? Bam, bam, bam.
You're
I
watching
take back
Skull Up,
everything
the worst LP on the internet.
I take back everything I have ever said. 10 out of 10. Game of the decade. I do not regret a thing.
Thank you, Eric Andre and Bruce, for the material. But no, obviously, that is not the end of Shadows of the Damned. But what this video is the end of Kurayami Dance. Because we got two final chapters to get through. And it's a fucking doozy.
Oh boy. I'm going to say right off the bat, I have read through these final chapters like half a dozen times now. I still don't know what to think.
I have some ideas of what to think.
You're doing better than me then.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason I decided to do this fucking LP. Okay, so here we go, on to chapter 15, To the Castle.
Yeah, because that's not what we've been doing this entire fucking time.
Yeah, finally made it to that fireworks factory and all that fucking shit. We got the boat from Sumio. Chalia got back to us, taking a nice leisurely sail up to the castle.
What can possibly go wrong?
Well, the way to make this go faster is to sing a song.
Oh, there was no farmer who had no cows. No, wait, sorry.
You know, I was thinking maybe it would have gone like the actual like sing a song, make it simple, yada yada. But no, it's Highway by Kuruli. I think if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I've legitimately never heard of them before in my life.
Me neither. And just like Let Me Kiss You back in chapter 3, this is just proceeding to just print out the whole fucking lyrics.
Yeah. I imagine if we'd actually been able to hear the song, it would have more of an impact on us, but I tried looking, couldn't even find it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's not that big a song, maybe it's just one of Suda's cult favorites, or pet favorites, or whatever.
Perhaps. It's at least an emotional one for Kaido.
Yep.
Yeah, like, good on Chalia for the suggestion, bringing a mic and a guitar. He's just an all-in-one musician. He's the best.
But they finally found the Dark Tower.
Yeah, with one of the panels making it especially curvy for whatever reason. This game really loves its like, refusing to adhere to straight lines.
Yeah, it's about one wrong angle short of an HP Lovecraft monstrosity.
Mm-hmm. You even get a little reminder of, like, you know, Kaido is still fixated on revenge against Naito, but with Chalia back, you know, he was always the voice of reason and just reminding him, hey, don't forget you still got the job.
Dude, revenge can wait. It's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah. So, he heads inside, wheels in the coffin, goes to the room of the person that the funeral is for. It is, you know, as we suspected, the body is Kai Kuragane, the founder.
And here's where the plot twists begin.
Yep. We meet the woman, I'm assuming the widow of Kai, given the attire. Her name's Haku, and she's basically like the one that like sent out the request for the funeral, and is fully aware of the fact that Kaido had to go through a whole lot of bullshit to actually get here. Like, knowing full well that, like, you know, she specifically sent the request, knowing to Royal Funeral Services, knowing full well that Kaido works there. Like, it's something that, like, that his boss could have easily done, but, like, it's like she knew full well that, like, Kaido probably would want to do it anyway, regardless of his boss going like, well, I mean, you did just get out of a 3-year coma, maybe it's not the best.
Maybe, like, catch up on the news. You know, I'm sure you've got, like, a couple of 100 months worth of magazines to read. Like, just chill, man.
Yeah.
But no.
Nope, she just knew that Kaido would be coming and going through a whole lot of nonsense. It tries to, like, apologize deeply for it, but he's like, forget, I'm just here to do the job. Let me get this fucking done so I can go to America.
Just like, no, wait, look, what happened. I just need to make a call and we're done, okay?
Yeah.
Just chill.
Mm-hmm.
So,
following
like,
that, Kaido makes a call to his boss, letting him know, hey, yo, I made it. I'm getting ready to do the funeral and all that. Yeah.
And then...
Yeah. And then he's all in on the setup.
Yep. The thing that kind of annoys me is you get some inkling that maybe there is some kind of bigger purpose behind all this. It's mentioned once or twice.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's an outright betrayal of some kind, maybe it's just me, but it seems to come out of nowhere. Because he's been nothing but his boss has been nothing but supportive to him from the very start.
Yeah,
and
but yeah,
it kind of feels like a twist for the sake of being a twist.
kinda. But I guess maybe like the implication of it possibly going this way is that we've seen the boss talk with G before at the end of Volume 1, which he does again here, as he gives him the order to kill us.
Yeah. So it just seems like there could have been a bit more foreshadowing rather than, there is some bigger purpose, and also G is shady as fuck. Because who isn't in this fucking series, you know?
Yeah, especially when we still go back to, like, the beginning, and, like, when this whole job was being proposed, like, he was outright, the boss was trying to make it sound like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this right away, but probably still, like, it kind of, like, makes you wonder, like, what even the point of trying to dissuade him initially was, if the job was meant for him in the end.
Yeah. It just feels inconsistent to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's expected to some degree when it comes to Suda stories.
Yeah, he seems to be more focused on the finale rather than how you get there, regardless of whether it makes any sense. I mean, look at No More Heroes.
Oh yeah, like the whole fucking UAA being a scam, which is like, I think like the whole like the broad like implications of that makes enough sense, but it's more like just the finer details of how they were able to get away and like fooling everyone else into it besides Travis.
Yeah, and then you fight your dad, and then your sister, who you had a relationship with, kills your dad, and then you have to kill her, and then your brother comes in, and it's like, what? Just pummels you with so many twists that you stop questioning it and just go, okay, fine, let's do this then.
Yeah, like, Suda's stories ultimately have, like, a greater, like, sort of, like, theme or purpose to convey, but it's usually at the expense of a few internal consistencies, and depending on, like, where it happens in the game, it can be either excusable or way too big to ignore. The latter of which I would argue is the case with Killer 7. There's, like, way too many, like, broad, like, open inconsistencies, especially regarding, like, the formation of, like, the Smith Syndicate at, like, as part of Emir's, like, personalities following him, like, you know, killing everyone involved.
Yeah. I think, though, in the grand scheme of things, it's easier for him to get away with that in a game, because you've got, you know, like, the music, you've got the voice acting, the graphics, everything. You know, if you've gotten to that point, then you're already on board with whatever he's selling. And at that point, you're either fully absorbed into it and you don't notice until after the fact, or you don't care, in which case, why the hell are you still playing it?
Yeah.
With a manga, it's really only got the art and the atmosphere. And
the writing with the characters.
Yeah, and maybe it's just me, but I find that it's easier to get broken out of that just with with text and images than with everything coming at you at once.
I could see that, yeah, but I still find, like, by the end of this, even with the minor details that just come off as, like, inconsistent or outright confusing, it still manages to make, like, the core theme and message of what it's going for work.
Yeah, I think when you get down to it, we'll probably talk about this more a bit later, but I understand this more on an emotional level than on an than in any kind of cognizant one.
Oh, absolutely.
And I get the idea of what he's trying to say, but trying to explain it or put it into words, I just sort of make vowel sounds and shake my arms a lot.
Oh, yeah. Fuck, it makes about as much sense as everything else.
Basically.
Yeah. So we cut back to Kaido talking with Akari, of all things. Having a little, like, bird's eye view of a cityscape below. It's, kind of like, this is basically just another conversation in a sort of similar vein to the ones that we got when these two first met, except a lot less hostile sounding.
Well, she gets really annoyed that he hasn't played Landstalker, which, fair.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a whole lot of talking about, like isometric, camera angles for games.
Yeah, like, I've never seen Rumblefish, so I don't know what he's going on about, but I get her similarly perfectly, you know?
Yeah.
Probably says more about me.
Yeah. And also a little shout out to Hideaki Anno. With the reference specifically towards Shin Godzilla and not Eva, which I'm going to say is, like, totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, I've also had Shin Godzilla sitting on my to-be-watched collection for a while now, so...
Yeah.
Get around to that someday.
So yeah, and the final page of this conversation is quite interesting, to say the least, because I think it... after the initial confusion of why the hell Kaido is talking with Akari again after she's been dead for several chapters, is that this is clearly all in his mind. Especially as we get, like, especially when it leads to her straight up acknowledging that Charlie is right there.
And we also get another Pseudoverse drop with Kill the Past.
Yes. And by the end of this, you'll very much easily tell that, like, this manga fits very clearly, like, within that motif, but in ways that are I think part of it, I think when we get to it, is like a somewhat inversion of like who it is that has to like necessarily do the killing of the past. But like between this and like obviously with all the silver case kind of cameos and the fact that we had fucking Travis show up of all things. Like, regardless of this being a manga and not a video game, it is clearly worthy of being part of the Sudaverse, which may or may not impact the theories I have of this when we get to the ending.
And also, arguably, it puts it in a different context from the other Suda games as to what Kill the Past may mean.
Yeah.
But, again, we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah, especially when our main character is not really a killer.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reason for this is because Akari tells Kaido that he needs to wake up as someone is here to kill him, which means like this whole conversation was just a dream.
Yeah, on the dead man's bed by the looks of things. Not sure whether it got moved into another room or if he just like shifted the corpse into the box and then.
I think, I think it was actually him. He got into like a guest bedroom specifically for him. Yeah, but yeah, he suddenly wakes up, and out comes G.
Did someone order some fabulousness?
Channeling some mad fucking Pillarman energy. Yeah, and he's got his murder face on.
Pillarman theme intensifies.
Yeah, with and also mentioning Lady Luna in a way that I guess implies that maybe she did ultimately die.
Or it could be that she survived and he just doesn't know. Because Dr. Moonlight is a literal miracle worker.
Oh, yeah. So, following this, Kaido's expression throughout all this feels incredibly unamused by just on the fact that he has already had other people try to fucking kill him.
Yeah, he's like, seriously, we're doing this shit again? Like,
yeah, like any other person, especially if it was like someone that's supposed to be their best friend like G, would feel incredibly devastated. But after everything he's gone just trying to get to this fucking ginormous pillar of a castle, he's like, really? Why the fuck is everyone trying to do this?
It's like Con Air. He's just, any other day this would seem unusual. To the point he's like, why is everyone trying to kill me? Like, what did I do?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, the boss is back at the office, knowing full well what's about to happen.
Yeah, and watching, presumably, the funeral on TV.
Yeah, with the body already loaded in the coffin, being wheeled over to the place that it's gonna be taking place at. So obviously, like, that part of the preparation was done, and Kaido was getting a bit of sleep before G had to fucking crash the whole thing. But then we get back to Kenjin, another new type flash, and realizes that something really bad's about to happen.
Woo! Or however that sound goes.
Yeah. And yeah, Kenjin knows Nekoda and Baba, tries to call them up, and is like, dude, Kaido's in danger, you two need to help him out again. He's like, nah, can't, we're in surgery, we're pretty fucked up.
Well, we'd love to, but we're busy getting all our blood replaced, and several limbs, so...
And organs.
Then there's no choice. We have to launch the Gundam.
If only that was the trump card, but no, it's not. But,
well, we already had two giant robots in the previous chapter. Like, what's stopping them?
Travis with Glastonbury coming in with the assist.
That would be so cool.
Jumps out, slices off Naito's head. Fuckhead!
It's just like, god damn it. This was supposed to be my moment of triumph, and you dickheads come in with your bullshit robots.
Now it's time for the final chapter. Back home.
Where everything is explained?
I guess. We go to the emergency room where Baba and Nekada are now all patched up. They're calling someone on the phone known as Master, which makes it extremely hard to tell if this is an existing character under a different alias or someone else completely fucking different.
So I kind of wondered if it wasn't, because he's saying, stop calling me Master, I'm no one's master. It made me wonder if it wasn't Travis, due to the relationship he has with Shinobu in No More Heroes 2, where she keeps trying to call him Master, and he's like, for fuck's sake, stop doing that, it's weird. Yeah,
it could be, but at the same time, they already met him briefly and seem to be like, on opposite sides of all things.
Yeah, it's open to interpretation, but I like to imagine that at some point they went back and they were like, oh, hey, would you mind, training us? He told them to fuck off, and they're like, okay, but we're still gonna call you Master because, we shared a cup noodle with you.
Yeah.
You gave us some poke, that means you're in charge of us now.
Or maybe it's just Suda.
Entirely possible.
Yeah, that's just him on the phone.
Wouldn't be the most bizarre fourth wall break he's ever had, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's just getting called up, hey, we need you to help this guy, he's in danger. And it's like, well, I mean, he is the protagonist, I did set up everything, so I might as well.
Yeah, we need a literal Deus Ex Machina, would you mind doing us a solid?
Yeah, no problem, once I'm done with my time here at this batting center. So now we cut back to Kaido as G is continuing to, claw his way up at him.
I don't know what it is about this panel. I know it's meant to be, really climactic, but it just looks so damn goofy. I don't know why.
We already saw it last chapter. Kaido is not impressed or, really, shook at all by this whole fucking thing. He's like, dude, the fuck is wrong with you?
He's giving so few fucks you'd think there was a shortage.
I have tolerated your weirdo bullshit when you, knocked me out, had me bound and gagged on your fucking bed, and then made me go into some goddamn midnight rave where I killed everyone. And then you gave me breakfast in a naked apron. Dude, are you expecting me to be devastated by this revelation? Seriously.
My friend, I can no longer sanction your tomfoolery.
Yeah. And even G tries to, fake him out for a brief moment and is like, no, I'm not gonna kill you. We're best friends, aren't we? Come on, just look me in the eyes.
Oh, hey, buddy, we're cool.
And then Charlie has had enough. He turns into his final form.
Which, initially, I thought was an Attack on Titan reference. Because he looks like one of the Titans.
In a way. But no, it is just, we could already guess that, Charlie's connection to Kaido basically made him, another side of himself.
Yeah.
In fact, that during the actual dance in the dark, there was that moment where just a giant version of Chalia with Kaido's face on it was looking at him and going, I am you. And as it turns out, it is very literal right here.
Yeah, I think this is supposed to be a representation of Kaido just after he went to 300.
Very much so. He's got with the lips, the missing toes and fingers.
Yeah. So I think this is sort of arguably the part of him that wanted to die at that point.
Yeah. But now it's obviously, Chalia has consistently shown to be the voice of reason despite its weirdness. And the fact that the voice of reason is the version of Kaido that was basically left at death's door after going at 300 says a lot.
Yeah, it's... There's a lot to unpack there, but
Yeah,
at the
especially
end,
with it going as far back as to directly reference that whole event back in like chapter, like in the final chapter of the first volume with the literal Kurayami Dance.
yeah.
And that is like he knew full well that Kaido still had to go through that particular sequence.
Well, he literally says that, you know, he had to essentially break all the rules in order to find his own path to walk. Which is, you know, why Chalia says that he needed to do all this in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the whole point of the road trip. And G, like, after the initial confusion of being another person that actually can see Chalia and going, dude, what the fuck are you? Then decides to go, okay, now that's enough. Fucking, like, pops his head off from the neck.
Nah, none of this bullshit.
Yeah. Before Chalia's original body grabs G and flings him off the tower.
Yeah, that's what makes me wonder if, you know, Charlie didn't represent the part of him that wanted to die, because he does die here, but it's for what you could argue is a very good reason. Since it's more of a heroic sacrifice rather than throwing your life away because, you know, for whatever reason you're tired of living or you just want to see what happens next or whatever. So that's my interpretation of it, at least.
Yeah. And like following this, like after like kind of like this being a bit of a shock to Kaido, even though he kind of knew deep down that it was always going to be the case, it's just kind of in denial. He then appears to wake up back at the hospital to the sight of the sexy nurse.
Yep, here's your mind screw for the chapter.
I'm sorry, I meant super sexy nurse. It's her legal given name.
She changed it by deed pool.
Yeah. Sexy's her middle name, quite literally. But yeah, as it turns out, Kaido's actually been asleep for 5 years. The kingdom did get built and all that, but he's been asleep for way longer.
Nah, that sounds kind of incorrect somehow.
Yeah, but no, I guess it makes some amount of sense, because like during like the actual 2 years, I guess, as he was recovering, he still didn't wake up because the doctors say that he was dreaming about going to the castle to fulfill some request.
Which instantly begs the question, how did they know?
I don't know, muttering it in his sleep?
Good enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Kenjin died.
No, Kenjin died on the way to America.
Oh, but he died even earlier. He hung himself during high school.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, and it was like he apparently was trying to do, like, it basically threw Kaido in a bit of a dizzy, trying to, like, find the guy that did it. And I guess that was the reason he actually ended up in a coma for 5 years, I guess?
Yeah. Oh well. The end, no moral.
Psych, that's not the real fucking ending.
Ha, gotcha.
Yeah, that was... I'll give Suda props for that, especially with it being very clear during the actual kind of... with that whole fucking sequence that it was like... They straight up acknowledging that this is such a cliche fucking twist ending.
See, I didn't buy it for a minute simply because, like... one of my favorite writers is Grant Morrison, and he pulled that shit all the time in The Invisibles. So after a while, you're like, really? We're going with this? Right, where's the... Nah. Come on. Next bit. There we go.
Yeah. But waking up from that is the real mind screw.
Oh,
As he wakes up... surrounded by empty syringes and a bunch of presumably dead guys.
One guy with his ass in the air like Johnny in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. Which is like... begs the... which is like weird because this is also still on the top of like the tower itself where G fell off. And Charlie is not there, so clearly that part of events happened. But then there was supposedly all these other guys that like... with like syringes of, I don't know if it was like meant to be tranks or poisons or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that this is like another like Kurayami Dance aftermath minus the blood. There's
at least a dozen guys there. What looks like the body of Kuragane.
Yeah,
that is him. And then we cut to another funeral.
Oh, but before that, Kaido's mom left another bento.
Oh, yeah. How can we forget?
Yeah. She really does get around. And I really cannot wait to stop beating around the bush once we get to the fucking end about this. Anyway, never mind this shit. Back to the funeral.
Yep, for Kai Kuragane and presumably G as well.
Yeah, after falling that far and somehow just not, like, splattering into pieces.
Yeah, not turning into a wet sack of meat and dog food.
Yeah. But now here's where the real shit starts. Look who's just showed up.
It's this asshole.
Oh yeah. Inviting us to lunch.
Just a nice intimate meal for two, and his hangers-on, and his paid assassins.
Yep. And we at least got confirmation from, when we saw a few chapters ago, that full-page panel of Kaido stabbing him in the back. Yeah, he still got that wound from back then, so that very much was the case.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say, given the shit that he pulled back then, he got off light.
Oh yeah, but it was still enough to, like, leave him, like, being extra petty just to have, like, a grudge about this whole thing that presumably happened all the way back in, like, late elementary school. Like, not even a high school thing.
Yeah, we're talking at least 10 years. 10, 15 years between then and now.
Yeah. And this is where the kill the past thing, like, I feel gets used in a more interesting way, because typically in games that actually, like, have used that moniker, it's primarily for, like, the protagonist and their particular past trauma. And, like, that's usually used as, like, the basis for why the series of events in the stories happen to begin with. Like, you look at, Travis, his whole trauma stems from Gene killing his parents, and, and him going through, like, all the assassination shit is what leads him up to that. This feels more like the opposite, where Kaido, I feel, would not be the kind of person that would have any sort of trauma from, like, stabbing a literal shit-stained bully in the back. This is more the villain trying to kill their own past because they cannot seem to let go of the fact that some kid stood up to them.
Yeah. Like, with other Suda games, it's you can't run away from your past, so what else can you do but try and bury it, one way or another?
Yeah.
But with this, like, as far as Naito's concerned, he has the past literally standing in front of him. And it's
and a reminder of it on his back.
Yeah, so it might as well be, in a metaphorical way, that is that wound staring him right in the face. Yeah. And the thing with a lot of bullies is that, in my experience, they can never really let go of the one time you stood up to them. Because that irritates them more than anything you could ever do in your life, like existing or breathing. So, when you stand up to them, half the time that just makes it worse, and they are more determined to make your life hell. This is just the natural, absurd outcome of it, where he's essentially put the entire finances of a country towards making this guy's life hell. Because he got him back for blinding a couple of girls for no goddamn reason. Yeah,
and even going so far as to, like, where the conversation goes very much implies that, like the events that led to Kai's death because Haku, like said earlier, we kind of glossed over it a bit or barely mentioned it at all, was that it was a case of pneumonia. But this obviously kind of like further goes to show that because of Naito's desire to get back at Kaido for that shit, is like he more than likely like further influenced events with his father's death to the point that he might as well have been the murderer.
Yeah, he didn't exactly kill his dad, but the implication is that he didn't do much to stop it.
Yeah, knowing full well that it would like lead to this possible outcome, and Haku would have like put out the request for the funeral services, and hopefully like assuming that Kaido like took the bait, which he did, that basically gave Naito like pretty much the reason to go forward with his plan of making his trip to the castle hell and killing anyone that he ever cares, or turning them against him like he did with G.
Yeah,
and the boss.
When you get down to it, this entire thing stems from a childhood grudge, which is understandable, but also as petty as it gets.
Yeah, like there's like the whole and with like kill the past in particular. Obviously, if you take it very literally, like you would think that like in all its instances it is about literally killing something that is like the source of that particular past event. But obviously it can be a bit more like figurative, as it were. It always ends up being like ranging from figurative to literal to varying degrees, and sometimes it's more than one character or just a single one. But it all kind of goes back to how interesting I find it that it is the main villain where that moniker applies to the most.
Yeah, for Kaido, I think that he's, if not okay with what's happened previously, then it doesn't affect him. Whereas, Naito here, like, is just overcome and consumed with anger and vengeance.
Yeah.
For literally no reason. Like, he was objectively in the wrong, but he still thinks, he was a complete teenage psychopath. But he still thinks that, arguably because he's rich and famous and, his dad has a kingdom, he's allowed to be above all that. Which, bullshit.
The price of being given absolute power when you don't really have, like, a good character or, like, moral standing behind it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know much about his dad other than he was against all this to begin with. So I would say morally that puts him slightly higher than his son, but I think you can argue that he couldn't have been that great a father if this is how his offspring turned out.
Or how the rest of his kingdom turned out. Like, we remember what happened at the Tanaka War. Even when the mayor himself was an old friend of his.
It gives me thoughts of the concept of the Fisher King, where the kingdom is affected by the body of the king and vice versa. So, if the king is falling apart, then the kingdom's not going to be in a great shape either.
So yeah, the meal's cut short as Kaido is clearly knows full well that Naito is still like the same piece of shit he always was. Kicks the table, a very long table, like hard enough that it manages to like jab him right in the guts.
Which, thumbs up, very nice.
Yeah, like for a table that long, there'd be a whole lot of fucking like legs trying to keep that shit up, I would imagine. Yeah. So, yeah, enough eating. It's time for a fucking duel.
Yeah, because I think the thing that pisses Kaido off at the most is the fact that Naito's not willing to dirty his own hands and all this. He wants the revenge, but he's not going to be the one to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So he shows him even less respect than he normally would.
Yeah, and even when it gets to the point where Naito's like fuck it, I'll just use a gun right now and kill you. I can do it. Like Kaido himself is like, just to further prove like how even more how still above it all he is compared to him. He's not even gonna use the gun he was given.
Yeah, just
go for a good old fashioned hot blooded punch to the fucking face. That's a good panel.
Fuck this. I'm breaking your teeth by hand.
Yeah.
And just clocks him with one punch.
Funeral's over. He says, as a dozen of his goons are brandishing weapons ready to fucking kill his ass.
Yeah, he's like, I'll go what I came for. So, gentlemen?
We cut back to Royal Funeral Service for one last time as we get a interaction between characters we did not think would normally meet. Kaido's boss and Kenjin.
Yeah, it kind of feels weird, these two different worlds clashing together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a conversation and exchange that ultimately like feels way hard to decipher like what the point of it was, because it doesn't really lead to like an actual conflict between the two. Just Kenjin asking, "Hey, why'd you do it?" and the boss being like you kids don't know shit.
You kids coming along here with your guns and your navel piercings and your answers.
Yeah. Adults suck.
Rotten adults.
He even leaves behind the gun, which I guess like was supposed to imply that he might have like would have tried to like kill the boss. But
nah, get the answers by force.
Yeah. But he kind of realized during the exchange that it's like he wasn't gonna break anyway, so like whatever tool that he was gonna use to bluff his way to getting the answers wasn't gonna work, and it's a good thing too because the gun just shoots confetti.
Yeah, but the way it cuts, like him holding the gun up, and then the bang sound effect, it's like, was he trying to kill himself out of some kind of shame, or was he just test firing it? Very open to interpretation as to what was going to happen, but he looks pretty devastated in that last panel one way or another.
Yeah. And also maybe because he might know at this point, especially if Kenjin has the connections that he's clearly shown he has, probably he knows full well that Kaido still survived. And that like his part of this whole plan of setting up his death was for naught.
Yeah.
So we cut back to the castle, just outside actually. Kaido starts calling Kenjin, letting him know, "Hey, job's done. You saw the funeral on TV, right?"
Yeah, no, kind of busy at the time actually. I was having a chat with your boss. Nice fellow.
Yeah. He's really good at playing catch. But yeah, he lets Kenjin know what we already knew, and that was Naito had clearly set up everything with this whole fucking journey.
Yeah, when we said that he was a 10-star fuckface, we were not joking.
Yeah. And obviously because the job is done, that means they're gonna get ready to go to America, right? Although Kaido seems to be... Yeah, but Kaido apparently seems to be saying that there's still one last little thing he needs to do, and seems to be trying to find a way to dissuade Kenjin from just buying the tickets right away. Which, brings up, when we see what's happening on the next page, it's very clear why he's acting a bit off with what he's talking about.
Yeah, just one last thing to do.
A little motorcycle with a fish in a bowl on the seat for whatever reason. I guess it was one last meal.
Yeah, that kind of makes me think that it was not Mondo's fish from 2 chapters back.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because it looks like it's prepared the same way.
Or it could very easily have been like another meal like set aside by his mother.
She usually tends to leave a note with him, though.
That's true, it is suspiciously missing. But yeah, naturally, after beating the absolute shit out of Naito, and I'm gonna say, even though we didn't see it, possibly maybe even actually kill them, because there's a whole lot of blood all over him.
Yeah, and it's being spattered on the phone booth as well.
Yeah.
So.
And naturally, because like if he did end up killing him for real, well, now even if he didn't kill him, just the punch alone makes enough sense that he's got all of Naito's goons on bikes and cars chasing the fuck after him. Yeah, so we're ending this story the same way we began. We're going back to 300.
Except we're going past 300 now.
Yeah. Like, and he's already at 300 and going further beyond it. Hasn't gotten flung off his bike just yet. Sees a glimpse of Chalia, basically like, hey, we're waiting for you on the other side. Like, all this time, like, when we first got to 300 at the beginning, you know, it was basically all the description of, like the loss of reason, the all-encompassing red, all this shit. And, you know, when he hit it, like, that was when he got flung off his bike and into the coma. Now he's clearly able to, like, stay on it, even at 300 and going beyond, and is able to, like, see things even more clearly, like what the true form of the world is. Yeah. And I think it shows now, ultimately, like, when you get past the I'm in a hurry to live excuse that he has, like, consistently preached over and over, what he's actually looking for at 300 is a person.
His mother.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it cuts to a bit of a flashback of him as a child, screaming out for his mom.
Yeah, seemingly abandoning him in the middle of town.
Yeah.
Which, once again, parent of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And him saying in the next page, I want to go home, makes me think that she just took him to a random spot, said, wait here, and then ran away.
Yeah. Which
but then again, he looks like he's
to...
about 6 there, so it's unlikely that he would have known anyway.
Yeah, but following this, Kaido, blood splatter shirt and all, makes it back to the apartment, sees his mother face to face. Like, for the first fucking time in this whole story.
Yeah, but she's a negative.
Yeah. They start eating together. Kaido starts mysteriously fading away from his seat, which leaves her very distraught, you know? Like, it's the first time in a long while that she gets to see her son again and, like, spend some time, and then he's just gone again.
Yeah, it's also the first time that she's crying over him, because
yeah,
every other time it's been him distraught over something she's done.
Yeah. But then, like, on the last page, he comes back, she's fallen asleep at the table and puts a blanket over her. Good night, Wataru. The end. So, you could probably guess this from our kind of trying to dance around certain explanations of whenever, like, his mom's, like, been brought up, be it, like, either, like, the flashbacks or leaving behind, like, the meals and who can or cannot see her. She's been dead. Like, I think it's pretty, like, easy to come to, like, that conclusion, even if it has not explicitly said it whatsoever, that Kaido's mother has been dead. That she had presumably, like, committed suicide, like, not, like, as, like, her way of kind of, like, abandoning him for so long. And if it was at a young age, like, it suddenly makes sense, like, to some degree, like, why Kaido's entire perception of death is the way it is, if his first experience with it was losing, like, the most important person in his life growing up, you know? Like, no wonder it would, like, lead him to thinking the way he does and taking the profession of an undertaker.
Yeah. See, I wasn't sure if she had died and, you know, with, like, the last couple of pages before he meets her, I wasn't sure if, like, she'd abandoned him then and there, or, you know, if she'd walked into traffic, or if she'd ran away and then died sometime later. At the end of the day, she's dead.
Yeah. Like, she clearly had, like... And I'm pretty sure it was, like, between all the different flashbacks and, like, settings that we've seen, like, young Kaido in, it's, like, I'm pretty sure, like, she did have, like, probably just to make it even more hurtful, that she had multiple instances of coming close to just killing herself before one of them just finally was the thing that made her leave for good.
Yeah. It's just one of them stuck eventually.
Yeah. So we also mentioned the, like, kill the past and how, like, the literal interpretation of it applied very specifically to Naito. The figurative interpretation of kill the past very much applies to Kaido, because the whole trauma of her, like, committing suicide, like, when he was at such a young age, has clearly not left him. Like, the Undertaker job, like, him going to 300, the fact that, like, it's very clearly, like that this story has described going at that speed as, like, the sort of the transitional point between life and death, is why he's gone to, like, he's, like, treated his life with such reckless abandon every time there's, like, the opportunity to go really, really fast. Because he wants that opportunity to see her again for some kind of closure. Whether or not it's ultimately the closure being him wanting to be dead so that he can be in the afterlife along with the people he cares about, is, I'm going to say, actually harder to tell compared to his mother being dead.
I mean, once you look at it with the knowledge of what happened to his mother, or possibility of what happened to his mother, you notice that he's basically surrounded by death from start to finish. He takes a job as an undertaker. He willingly or knowingly or not tries to kill himself. He winds up in a coma, which is as close to death as you can get without actually being dead. And everywhere he goes, there's people killing themselves, there's people dying. So you can easily say, well, you know, the story's been foreshadowing it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And with the final pages with him fading out and back in, that the way that I saw it was he essentially crashed, or one of Naito's guards caught him. He was just hovering on the verge of death, and then finally crossed over.
Yeah, like, that's... I think, like, if we're, like, treating Kurayami Dance, like, as something that is very much its own thing and without the implications of, like, the greater Sudaverse, I think that would very much be, like, the most valid interpretation. The only reason, like, I don't fully commit to it is, I guess, it's less... I think it's more just, like, as thinking about it as a potential way for, you know, if Suda still has, like, greater plans for continuing to, like, promote, like, this, like, connectivity between his franchises in game form. And the fact that, you know, like, I actually think about the kind of, like, the end of, like, of Travis Strikes Again, like, after you beat Dr. Juvenile and you, like, transport yourself to Mars. And it's that sort of thing where I feel like it was very meant to be kind of like a metaphor for, like, him going to the afterlife. And the fact that he was given the opportunity by his original hero that, hey, you could stay here forever and, like, and be free of all the fucking troubles that you had living on Earth. Yeah. But then, even knowing full well that that would be the escape that he had been wanting, Travis was still like, no, I've still got things that are important to me, like living like normally, so I can't be here.
Yeah,
I almost want to think that Kaido could potentially still be there and like maybe reach the point of truly transcending like the border between life and death, that he could somehow like justify crossing between it freely. Because obviously he's got so many people already on the other side that he cares about. You know, his mom, Akari, Chalia as well, I'm gonna say, even though that's just him, like another side of him. But but like the price of it is that he's leaving behind Kenjin. And like just that's already kind of a dick move in its own right, leaving him behind when he kept going on about, hey, like we should totally like take a road trip across America.
By the same token, though, it's the afterlife. Everyone's going to wind up there sooner or later.
Yeah.
So, you know,
it's just a matter of like if it wants to commit to the idea that the afterlife and the real life operate on the same time scale or not.
Yeah. I mean, he says, you know, I'm going on ahead, which anyone who's read manga or watched anime knows that that's a euphemism for I'll see you on the other side. So, you know, you can always argue the case that he was saying that more to Kenjin rather than to Chalia.
That's true.
Because it is just vague enough that you know, if you squint slightly, you can say that. But then again, as you say, like, I mean, I assume that his mother is more or less the same, looks the same, or is the same age as she was when she died.
Yeah.
So, you know, fair enough. But like, what if Kenjin lives to be 70? It's going to be a bit difficult going on any road trips with a septuagenarian.
True. Yeah.
Not impossible, just really kind of awkward.
It is. But yeah, that's the manga. That's Kurayami Dance, the story that was based largely on the original Kurayami game concept, but obviously still very different from what even that was gonna be. But
yeah,
I think
it's easy to forget that all this was meant to be a game.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, still a very different one. Like, obviously, like, both games, both the original game concept and this manga, like, show that, you know, it was not going to be about you just shooting a gun and making dick jokes.
I can imagine it would have been something maybe closer to a Deadly Premonition.
Yeah.
Where, like, more of an adventure game.
Yeah, like I actually mentioned Flower, Sun, and Rain when we were at the Union Hotel saga, like not just because of the fact that Edogawa was there, but, you know, it was, like, we've already had, like, Suda make games in the past that are, like, adventure-like and are not based around combat.
Yeah, everyone associates them with adventure games, but, you know, it's also easy to forget that he cut his teeth on, essentially, visual novels, adventure games.
Yeah.
With mild puzzle solving. So, you know, having a game as a road trip with maybe some mild combat or, you know, maybe more of an emphasis on the puzzles and so forth, not out of the question.
Yeah.
Just completely different to what people, quote-unquote, expect from a Suda game.
Yeah. At least this manga did not have any obnoxious darkness chipping away at our health.
Just metaphorical.
Well, yeah, it was metaphorical darkness.
Some bits of it were kind of depressing.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, it's a different kind of depressing than what we had to deal with during the actual game.
Yeah, it's depressing, not what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say degrading, but no, not quite that either. Well, bits of it are. Grinding away at you.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You know, like, yes, like, we're pretty much all in agreement that this could and should have been a good game. But to be perfectly honest, I'm going to place the blame at EA's feet.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, even Suda himself would.
Yeah, it's not any kind of stretch or, excuse making to say that this was released way too early. I mean, this is like one of the few games of this genre or this generation that doesn't even have a New Game Plus.
Yeah, exactly.
What's up with that?
Yeah, like even Suda knew enough about that to make a fucking joke about it in Travis Strikes Again.
Yeah.
But I think we still have like other important final thoughts to say regarding Shadows of the Dam, but that'll be for the next video because this video was the finale of Kurayami Dance. but we still need to actually see the real end of Shadows of the Damned.
I'm going to be honest, I think we've seen the best ending that we possibly could. Like, shut the whole LP down. It's not going to get any better than this.
No, there's still more because we need to get to the part where Eric Andre just busts into hell.
And then wiggles his dick in Flemming's face.
Yeah. And just Hannibal's like sitting back there.
just
smiling.
Just asking him, like, so what's your favorite kind of nerds? You like the banana ones, don't you? Yeah. Do you want some Funyuns?